Hello, welcome to the Winners Mindset Way Show. I am your host, Trent Clark, CEO of University, serial entrepreneur, international speaker, and longtime coach in professional baseball coaching in 3 World Series. I am with my dear friend, Jill Capella. Say hello, Jill.
Hello, Trent. Hello out
Jill,
there.
hi, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good,
Looking
good.
great and excited. Jill is the CEO of Orthopedic and Neurological Rehabilitation, or ONR. She has served the senior community for nearly 35 years of therapeutic care. It is an amazing company based in Austin, Texas, but certainly a national brand. And so super excited about having Jill with us today. For you that are joining us for the first time, have you ever faced stiff adversity, felt like the losses are mounting, and you need to find a better way? I think you came to the right place, whether you are already an entrepreneur, coach, business owner, or just on your path looking to become elite. This is where you want to be to hear from the best. I interview 1%ers talking about their journey on the way to being the 1%. So Jill is no different. Jill, let's talk about you. Before we start, Jill, where do people find you? Are you on LinkedIn and all that good stuff?
I am. I'm everywhere but Twitter.
Okay, good. So at Jill Capella or at ONR, or how can we find you?
Um, at onr-inc.com.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. And you can find Jill Capella on LinkedIn. You see her name there. And if you need to reach out to her, she is wonderful. All right. So, Jill, a couple things about you, a little background. You've owned and operated this business since your 20s. It's amazing. You were based out of Northern California to start, but you're a Little Rock girl, right? Growing up, hanging around the Clintons, I'm sure. And a UALR, wearing that badge of graduation proudly, right? And master's out in DC in your speech language pathologist, and
Yes.
then marry a Navy pilot, head off to California, the Sunshine State, and love in Cali, and decide, hey, listen, I'm going to start this business. Now, I want people to understand this about Jill Capella, right? Like, she's running a 130 million-ish annual revenue stream through there. And she's never had a business class, right? Like, not once. You're like, oh, I can't run a business. I don't have an MBA. Guess what? Like, I don't know if it's required, Jill. Do you believe that to be true?
That a business class is required to be successful?
Yes.
No, absolutely not. I don't think I'd be sitting here today because that is the honest truth. I
Yeah.
never in my life, undergraduate, graduate studies, have taken a business class.
It's amazing. Yet highly regarded as one of the strongest women in business in Texas, probably nationally. Has a strong reputation as a business owner, and obviously very well known, obviously in the healthcare circle. So, real quickly before we dive all into it, Joe, what's one thing most people don't know about you?
When I was young, I could not pronounce my R's.
Which no one would ever suspect that today.
See, the problem at the time, though, that my dad's boss's name was Roy.
Right? So you're like, oh.
That, I would write it down. Dad, come to the phone. It's, I still have a little bit of a hard time. I have to think about Roy. So,
Yeah.
but
So you're pretty young. Obviously, you're in school age now, right? And speeches, language class. Raise your hand, ask a question, all those things. Terrifying, embarrassing. Tell me about those moments.
oh, it was humiliating. Um, it was humiliating to me individually, but also as a person and as a member of a group or members of my friendship crew.
Yeah.
They um, did not find any problem at any moment, at any second, in haranguing me over not being able to say my R's.
Right?
Yeah.
Kids are relentless, right? And
Yes.
it's nice that you can say that very easily now. Relentless, right? And so what did you do?
Well, my folks sent me to speech therapy and to help me say my R's. So I got busy on starting my engine.
Yeah.
So I would go to my closet um, multiple times a day, little bitty closet, would shut the door, and I would
Just practice.
just practice over and over again.
Do you think, like, looking back, like, your parents, like, where's Jill at? Where is she at? Like, I can't. She's not out playing. She's not in her room. Like, do you think they ever wondered? Like, you said that.
I I
You think
think
they
they
knew?
I think they knew.
Okay.
I think they knew. They were probably proud of me and probably open-eyed that they had a realization how much it did affect me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's as a parent, it's kind of cute, right? Like little kids, battle with a letter, and they got their own little pronunciation of things, and everyone goes, "Oh, that's kind of," the other adults like, "Oh, that's kind of cute." The other kids are relentlessly teasing people, like going, "What are you doing? Like you don't talk like we talk, right?"
Right, right.
Yeah, it is a man. I gotta tell you, like, it's when I look back at how just challenging growing up is as kids and how tough kids are on each other. Which, by the way, like, no one's immune. Everyone's got a thing, and you'd think that we would figure out, like, man, I don't want someone to tease me about my this, whatever your thing is, right? Like me, I was a short guy, right? I'm not very tall, so I was always the shortest kid in my class, like. And I don't want to be teased about being short. So I was the last guy to go, "Oh, Jill, you can't say your art." Like, listen, I knew what it felt like. And I didn't want to make you feel like that. Right. Like, because I felt it daily. The playground was relentless.
Oh
So
my
the fighting
gosh.
started. Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You went to the closet. I just went to the fisticuffs, like whichever. Right. Like, so all right. So that's yeah, probably most things, things we don't know about people. So let's talk about you for a minute. You know, when you're this 12-year-old girl, Little Rock, Arkansas, bouncing around in your beautiful sunny weather down there. And did you know, like, hey, listen, this is what I want. I want to be a business owner. I want to be like, you know, I mean, 1,000 employees, like, did you see yourself in this seat at that young age? Is like, this is what I'm going for?
I don't recall that. It wasn't like lightning struck me that I wanted to be more and do more, probably until graduating from high school when all my friends went became Razorbacks, went to
Mm,
University of Arkansas.
yeah.
And I made a decision to go to a small private school in a very small town and had anticipated that I would go into the law area, would be an attorney.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was some separation thought at that time. Um, Speech pathology was not included in that contemplation at that time.
Yeah. So this is
But
just focused on the law. What changes that?
the law,
No, what changes that view, that path of the private, you know, religious small town? I'm focused on being a lawyer, whether I go be a judge, public defendant, whatever I want to do in the law. That is kind of your key focus. And then things change because you didn't graduate from there. You graduated from UALR, right?
right?
So what changed?
My dad lost his job.
Yeah. So now it's like that's expensive tuition, room and board. Uh, Winners find a way. I can't graduate from school under these terms, so things have got to change. I've got to adapt
Quickly.
quickly, right? So that's exactly what you should do. You go home and stay at home No more dorm, no more apartment with the girls. It's stay at home, commuter school, put your head down, get the degree.
One day I was sitting in the cafeteria or the student union
Yeah.
at the time, and my vision just caught a bulletin board, and the bulletin board had a application for a scholarship that was going to one person at UALR. I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way. So I went ahead and applied for it. I never told my folks because I did not want to get full hope in
Yeah.
this situation. But I got it.
Mm.
I got that graduation um, or the scholarship. So my last year of school was paid for at UALR.
What do you think that blessing at that time meant to your family?
I think, first of all, relief, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But they were proud of me.
Yeah.
I think they have always been proud of the drive that they have seen.
Yeah.
And but in a situation like that, I, as most folks are not given a choice.
Yeah. This was like, yeah, I appreciate that. Like, this isn't like, hey, I'd like to have that. That would be a nice to have. This is like need to. Like, this isn't wants anymore. This is, if not this, then not anything.
Pretty much that way.
Yeah.
Pretty much that way.
Okay. Was there an influential moment for you as a kid that like you really discovered this drive and like, hey, this is like that really kind of sets you on like, I am a driven person. I want to have more. I want to do more. Was there something impactful, as a kid that you really felt in that?
Um, well, I knew I did not want to stay in Little Rock, Arkansas. Um, not that there's anything wrong with Little Rock.
Yeah.
I never dreamt of moving to California, but there has always been, Trent, this drive that's undescribable, that of wanting to be more and
Hmm.
to do more, and the fight within me to make it happen.
Yeah.
Been there all my life.
So let's equate that, it's a fire, right? I mean, it's a fire that burns and the pilot light never goes out. So I
Nope.
think this is one thing that people don't always understand about people that achieve, right? Like, I mean, you were pretty quick to $10 million. Like, I mean, it didn't take, you were expanding fast on the West Coast. You were a long time staple in the California therapy community before you expanded, right? And so, hey, $10 million, you're a mother of kids, you've got a husband, you got a thriving business. What, like, hey, Jill, why don't you just settle in and just be okay? Why do you need to go to 130 million, right? Like, but that drive, you gotta stoke that fire. Is that right?
Every day, every second of every day, you know, um, the journey has always been the special part.
Yeah.
How to get there, how to get there the quickest. And with O&R, when I started O&R, then I saw a ton of companies out there that were special in their own way, but not necessarily something that could satisfy um, my complacency in terms of working in those environments. And the last 35 years of having O&R and taking care of our senior aging folks has not been an easy journey. The leadership skills that I have honed in order to keep O&R afloat and active and competitive and the best of the best in the long-term care profession have not come easy. It's a challenge every single day to
Mhm.
be consistent with the culture, and to be able to balance the regulatory and reimbursement changes that are so prevalent.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that I've learned from the healthcare world, just in my short time, as I've worked with Jill and her wonderful company, I've been blessed to have that chance. And um, like healthcare's razor thin margins, and it's almost like set up that way. Like no one should be out there like, oh, you've got a healthcare company. We're making billions. Healthcare companies aren't reporting what the oil companies are reporting. Is that fair?
It's very fair to say. You're a quick learn, Trent. Quick learn.
Yeah. So no, I'm not going to talk about the drug companies, but we'll just go that. We'll leave that one for a minute. All right. Um, so so you're in this. Let's talk quickly and pivot to. I love the quote from the Four Disciplines of Execution book, written by Chris McChesney and Sean Covey, that says winners, when shown data that they are losing, find a way to win. You just talked about hey, the strategy, the changes in regulation, compliance. It's a constant strategic. It's like you must have just excelled at all the strategy games as a kid, right? Because it's a constant moving deal. Talk to me about a time where you were up against it in that you had to pivot, had to find a way to win, and walk me through maybe one of those scenarios.
Um, well, one situation that comes at the sorry, dog
No, it's
terminal
okay.
that kind of stands out to me is I've always experienced folks wanting to acquire O&R. And this is a learning lesson to me back when I must have been 30 years old, had the company for about 5 years. We had a big organization that asked us to come to Texas, where I am now. And we went. I said, okay, y'all, in order for me to come out to Texas to service your buildings, then I need at least 3 skilled nursing facilities anywhere but Houston. So 60 days later, we started one skilled nursing facility in Houston. So the irony of that, continued, built the business, and this company came to me and said, Jill, we want to buy you. We're ready to go in house. We want to buy you.
Yeah.
And, after the joy of someone wants to buy me.
Yeah.
And
I'm
yeah,
wanted.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, to be 30, 31 years old and to have, a company that's a run rate of about, 10 million a year was just flattering to
Yeah.
me.
For
But it
sure.
wasn't in the best interest of the company. And so they came to my office in Los Gatos, California,
Yeah.
did the
Gorgeous,
pitch.
by the way. Gorgeous area.
Yes, beautiful. It was my mom's birthday. And I told them at that point that, my folks weren't for sale, that the company you did not choose at this point to divest.
Yeah.
And I tell you, Trent, it was about 12 minutes later, I received a cancellation for the entire state of Texas.
Really? So if we're not going to buy you, we don't want anything to do with you. And just like that, all the hard work that had gone to all of Texas to build them up, get them going, strategic on their part, but their positioning, that's all they were doing. And then you got assets that have moved down there, people that obviously are engaged there, all these things, and you got to undo it just like that.
Overnight, 30-day cancellation. So I had to adjust and adjust quickly or lose my Texas operation.
Yeah.
And in that situation, I realized I've learned so much throughout the years, but that was a pivotal moment in terms of do I fly or do I just let it go?
Yeah.
And because in situations such as, in healthcare, then there's a lot of transactions going on, a lot of mergers, a lot of, but on the other hand, there's a lot of activities that the customers have control over. A $10 million size company and go directly to my therapist and take them.
Yeah.
So that's when the strategy starts.
Yep.
That's whenever, the rubber hits the road. And I can't believe I just said that. I hate that saying.
So here, I'll say one that I hate saying. I mean, your first indoctrination to really like
Is
hardball, like these hospitals, these big facilities, these big care, they are playing hardball. And now you've got big corporate America now because they consolidated, right? And so you've got big corporate America that bought in, and they're going to run it like how they're going to run it, and everybody else needs to get out of the way. So little Jill Capella and O&R can just be steamrolled with the rest of it. And you said, baby, not going to happen over here. Like, I'm going to
not
pivot
right
and keep
here.
moving, right?
It's not my time.
Yeah. But
But
listen, you go from, I'm trying to understand the feelings, right, of that elation of I'm wanted. I'm a 30-year-old who's already created a $10 million top line revenue stream. I employ a bunch of people. We do this great care to uh well, pull your britches up because we're about
yep,
to destroy the whole thing here in 30 days. And you're like, wait, wait. I was feeling so good 2 days ago, right?
yes.
And all of a sudden it's just 180, just like that.
Uh, well, let me just say this: it was not consistent with my vision.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So, you know, how many times, when you 35 years, right? How many times have you had that 48-hour emotional roller coaster in business? And by the way, for all of you out there, you can't replicate that in your MBA school. So, like these lessons, by the way, are the real world kick you in the teeth. You may just have to have them redone. I don't know, because they're not exactly repairable. Those don't just, you can't rehab those back, right? Um, so talk to me about how many times you think, if you just counted,
Oh,
how you've been on that emotional roller coaster.
well, there's different levels.
Okay, good.
Certainly, there's
Yeah,
the daily trials, but O&R has existed with 6 different administrations.
yeah,
Okay, um, every and healthcare kind of has a business cycle, but I will tell you that you want to hear my favorite quote.
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
give it to me.
Okay. Ernest Hemingway, Grace Under Pressure.
Yeah,
Grace Under Pressure. So I, because I think it's an experiential growth that happens
yeah,
with winners
yeah,
is that you accept the fact that no is not really a part of the growing process
yeah,
in terms of leadership positions.
yeah.
There's others out there that can say no. No, I think, is the hardest word and the easiest word to say,
Mm,
depending upon the situation. Um, but, back to your question, Trent. in terms of the number of times, I would probably say between 5 and 10
Mm,
that I've really felt like, okay, this is I have to do something. I have to readjust and I have to do it quickly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Potentially terminal for this business.
absolutely.
Yes.
I
5 to 10 times. 5 to 10. And listen, I think this is the struggle of why you see that, like, whatever the statistic is, I can't remember what it is. I think it's like 22% of all companies make it 5 years, right? Like, it's low. Like, it's not like a ton of companies, right? And because terminal's always around the corner. Like, it's and I think the strike is like when you're going good, right? And it's like, yeah, hey, we're almost untouchable. We found our groove. I got the right team. I got the right whack. And then all of a sudden, here comes a grenade in, right? And you're like, I didn't even know we were at war. Like, I don't have a foxhole. Like, what are we doing? Like, how did this hit? Like, we don't see it coming. Let's come back to this. Like, great. I like this grace under pressure. When you talk about these, it's daily though, right? It's daily levels. Have you built a ranking system out? Like, it's a level one, level one day. I've got someone who's supposed to be in Taos, New Mexico at a facility, and the director's MIA or something's happened or illness or death in the family, and you've got a schedule that's just how are we going to resolve the issue? Level one, level two, it can be resolved. It will be resolved within 24 hours. Do you have like level five alarmer, slide down the pole, get all the fire gear on because this one is going to be a blaze, right? Like, do you have that?
Well, the first one group of situations that you just expressed in my life, in the life of O&R,
Yeah.
all those would be a one.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, it happens every day,
Yeah.
you know.
This is a big
Um,
operation. People.
and you know, things always happen at that level. It
Yep.
always, oh boy, it's called the coffee book or a cocktail book at O&R. The situations that we've been in with people. People are interesting,
Yes.
in terms of behaviors.
Yeah.
I would say, back to your question, I would say a level 5. I've experienced more level 5s in the last 10 years than the 25 years preceding that.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. Okay. Like, let's talk about why that is. Why do you believe that to be true? Because and we're going to talk about this a minute, because one of Jill's superpowers is that, and everybody recognizes this in her, anyone who knows her, she has amazing gut instinct, right? Like, she has an ability to think on her feet, adapt quickly. It's uncanny. And it's definitely a huge part of her success. You agree with that, right, Jill?
I do.
Okay, I'm gonna argue it in a minute. You know
I
that,
know you
but
are.
like, you know that. But like, we also think like you're more experienced. You got 25 years under your belt. You should see well. And I'm not saying I both know we don't always, but on the outside, people would go, "Hey, you should see these things coming at you now. These five alarmers. You should recognize these things." And now you're saying the height and the expediency of these larger issues that are attacking and threatening the life of this business. What do you attribute that to? Because logically, that wouldn't make sense to people because we have more experience. We reduce the amount of that as a longevity, as a succession. Is that fair?
It's fair. Let me first of all say, as to your comment, I'm not a fortune teller.
Right.
I believe in gut instincts and I preach it. I
Yeah.
preach it through leadership. I preach it with all my senior level management, and they just get tired of hearing it. I know, I know, no. I know. Go with your gut,
Yeah.
or when in doubt, don't.
Mm. Okay. So, okay, I get that. I'll come back to that in a second. I'm going to answer that one as soon as I say, let's go into
The gut
why
thing.
why is the last 10 years, why this uptick
Okay.
of just stressors are coming in at these different angles? Why do you believe?
Well, it's the regulatory and reimbursement um, regulations and statutes that have come in place. I think I've over the last 5 years, I would say the company has lost probably 28% in terms of revenue that we
Wow.
were seeing prior to that.
Yeah.
So, and it rears its ugly face in so many different ways. I always felt that, demographically, this is the time. We're in this time. I mean, 30 years ago, I just heard about the baby boomers and, how we're all getting to this age and we're exploding in the population with our senior aging folks we have arrived right now.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, at the federal level and also at the state level, there are not financial resources recognized. Um, in fact, the converse has happened. And it's something that my son laughs about. Is it that time of the year again, Mom? Is CMS going to do
Mm.
their magic again?
Yeah.
It started with the change in payment reimbursement. And I was in my office and my mom came down. She was our CFO at the time. And we had undergone a total change in reimbursement. And she said, Jill, she shut the door. She said, Jill, I have something I need to tell you. It was on the third day of the month. We had just completed all of our billing. And she told me, and I was like, well, Mom, that's not that bad. She said, that's for all of O&R. I thought she was just saying Texas.
Yeah.
So we lost overnight 60% of our business. And as did other
Yeah.
companies.
Yep.
And
Industry wide.
industry wide
Yep.
cut overnight. And then Trent, you were around at the time that this other change happened, and we were expecting a 50% again reduction. And um, you know, the first cut, the only answer that was prominent and pushed me forward was I've got to get out of California.
Hmm.
Um, because the cost of living. And I had to move the O&R office, administrative office, out of California because I was competing with the Silicon Valley
Yeah.
right there. And
Yeah. Especially in Los Gatos, right?
and,
Yeah.
yes, and expenses. So, um, so then we experienced another cut. And then as recent as January of this year, the government, CMS, randomly and arbitrarily cut our licensed assistants' salaries by 15%.
First of all, it's amazing, and most people probably don't know this, that because you have Medicare, because people don't know that like the government is limiting salary, right? Like payment per this. And we have been a proud country who were brought up to respect our elders, to take care of the elderly. You have a passion for that you put your money where your mouth is as a 20-year-old. And the rest of us have parents that we've always cared for and have and understand that, grandparents and all those things. Does it feel like we're foregoing these people in a way?
Yes, we
Yeah.
have limited access to care as they do. So not only were the dollars cut, but the patients, the residents' access to care was cut through a reduction in volume of therapy provided to these aging folks.
Mm.
So, where did we go? I've always relied upon data. Um, Trent, you were with us a couple of years ago when this thing called PDPM, a reimbursement change.
Yep.
I coined that year DDPM, data driven people management.
That's right.
And we've lived by that mantra for years.
Yep.
And I think the efficiency of one's data management vision is a key role in winning
Yeah.
and the continued success.
Yeah, I love that, Jill. You know that at Leadershipity we have DD Ops, right? We have data-driven operations, which is the same in a way. It's our version of monitoring, people's role and their contribution. And what I love the quote, numbers don't lie. Right? I know people lie. I know that. Oh no, yeah, I was the mileage on my car to over to Dallas was wait, what?
You've been
700 what?
hanging out with O&R too long.
Right. So, but for athletics, we have been just data driven forever, right? I mean, we make decisions based on what we should do in the game, basis how Jill matches up against this person, and is that good a matchup for us? And yes, that's what works for us. That's strategic for us. And so we take all that data, and of course, people are paid on data, like how many home runs have you hit? What's your batting average, and all those good things. But the other side that I've always said is video doesn't lie either, right? Like that's been a source of feedback right now. If we can review the tapes, I hear a lot of kids that I coach go, oh yeah, hey, I was in perfect position. Oh, well, let's review the tapes, right? And what you've done with DDPM is you've created let's review the tape. How'd the month look? Because it's all right here in black and white in spreadsheet era, right? Like this is how the month breaks out, and this is how we do it. And for folks that aren't understanding that, Jill, of as a business owner, that you've got to have your KPIs, you've got to have your data that tells the story. If they're not doing it today, what would you tell them?
Frankly, I would tell them that there's no way they can manage a business without
Yeah.
data.
Yeah. And when you hear about all those companies, 80% don't make it 5 years. Guess what? They don't read the data. They don't watch the numbers. They don't manage by indication, right? Because those tell the story. So now let's come back to gut feeling. Well, I got a gut feeling that, we're going to get some more sales around the corner. I got a gut feeling we should take this risk. So, I don't. And so this is where Jill and I are going to argue. This will be fun. So and you've really hit this, by the way. You have experiential growth beyond most people. And you and Allison Hodson out of Edmonton, Alberta, she's a person much like yourself. Every experience I have with Jill Capella, she's breaking down the data. She's looking at the number. She's triangulating the feeling of how it's feeling. What's the experience, right? How do I feel about it? How are people behaving when this has happened? She's triangulating that all the time. And here's the thing that people don't get about learning. She's doing it in both good and bad. We're all doing it on the bad. Like, oh my gosh, this worked out terribly. I got to fix this, right? The mistakes all got to be fixed, and we dive into those things a lot easier. But when you break down the experiential growth and understanding of it when it's good, we call it the shampoo treatment. Wash, rinse, repeat. Like, hey, let's do that again. Because, we just made a good little chunk of change and this works and our clients are happy and everybody just won. And this is how we experimented. This is how people are feeling. This is how we're behaving. And then when it's going good and we're not doing those things like, listen, if we don't do those things, it's going to go bad. Like, because we know what it looks like when it's good. So monitoring that now, what she's doing through the data every day is so important. So your gut feeling is a number of experiential growth experiences that you've had over all these level 1s, level 2s, level 3s, level 4s, level 5s. And your gut feeling is experiential, right? Other people don't have the experiences that you have, and they don't have the ability to process, or maybe, and I don't know if they don't have the ability necessarily, but they haven't been forthright in thinking through that and understanding the learnings like you have, which raises your level of dealing with these challenges way above most people. So your gut feeling, I don't think it's in your gut. I think it's in all those experiences that you've monitored and lived through and lived to tell the tale. Is that fair?
Well, I think we're both saying the same thing.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. Nice. Good.
I do feel that your gut is the culmination of all your
Yes.
experiences.
Okay.
And
Good.
so it,
I'll agree. I'll
okay.
agree.
Um,
Let me ask you the next question. Then if you talk to a young person, corporate person, never been on their own in business, never run their own P&L, like their own money, right? I'm not talking about, a P&L for IBM, right? Your investment, your mortgage is on the line on payroll because we've been there, right? Um, and they say, "Oh, I got a gut feeling on this. I've been in business 1 year after 15 years of corporate." Do you trust that gut?
that's not a fair question.
They don't. So that's what I'm saying about that
No,
gut
let me
feeling.
finish. Let me finish.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm
So
sorry.
that
I'm
is
sorry.
not a fair question. I mean,
Okay.
data is powerful. Okay.
Yes.
When it comes to data, there is appropriate analysis and needed follow up. When I am training my leaders to go with your gut, it's based upon same and similar situations, whether you won or you learned.
Yep.
Your
You win or you learn. Sure.
what your takeaway
Mhm.
is. But I think that gut is nurtured through years of
Yes.
experiences.
Yes.
I think there's, and as I said, I'm not a fortune reader. I don't really. I'm applying gut, Trent, in a different way, I
Yes.
think, than you are. So I think we both win this one a
Okay.
little
Okay.
bit.
Well, you always win. First of all, like let's get that right straight. Like I don't always win. You always win. So um, let's I think one of the things that you did, and let's kind of walk through this a little bit. That was something that was really admirable, but it's important because when PDPM hit, which was a significant compliance change in billing Medicare, for those who don't know, it's happened about 2.5 years ago, maybe. Um, Jill goes to the war room with her team of experienced personnel, compliance people, VP of operations, sales. I mean, everybody gets in the war room and we're instantly whiteboarding all the things that we can do. And we know what we can't do now, but what can we do? Group therapy, all the things. So, if there was someone to ever navigate that well, it was done so well by grabbing hold of hey, we have to build strategy because this is going to be a hit and we have to be prepared for that hit, but we can pivot, we can adjust, we can do things a different way. We can shift the gear, and you did that. Now I see a lot of people who don't put their experienced people, like You wouldn't have had the same result if you'd have got a commercial real estate investor and a lawyer and this in the room who didn't have the intimate knowledge to compliance, to the people, to the needs of the patients, all the things that you brought into that room. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I think that's what's really, when we talk about this people business, it's really bringing all those people together and empowering them to work through their experience and talk through their experiential growth and their gut feelings of how we're going to get through this and what possible options we may have.
That's what happened. Yes.
Exactly what happened. And it was
And
awesome.
it was pretty darn awesome.
Yeah.
So I always like to brag that I like people on the team that are much smarter than me. So as kind of an adjunct of what you just said, to challenge, to task those to think. There are certain folks in my life that I don't pay or challenge to think. But those in leadership positions, I think often forget the power of intuitive thinking
Yes.
in situations. So what happened at that point, we brought in all the different fields, all the different disciplines, all, from accounting to
Computer, IT, tech. Yeah.
the one thing we did know at that time is we had to, in terms of developing efficiencies, we had to um, mature the data that we, in terms of our IT systems. And it wasn't just about churning the data and looking at the data. It was the expression of the data, and it was the rollout of the data and how it was presented in a meaningful way that had impact on how we're running every single hospital or community that we're in, and it worked.
Yeah, and I just want to go out on this limb, I guess, to say right now for folks out there, like, could have been a major setback. In fact, for many of Jill's competitors, they aren't there anymore because of that, right? Like, they lost and set up for, set back to set up for me, because I don't want to speak out of school here, Jill, but 2.5 years ago, you knew you were going to take a short-term revenue hit for sure. It was unavoidable, right? But if I'm not mistaken, you're over 100% that first year of PDPM revenue to today, to right now on your run rate, you are 100% above what you had to go back to. Is that fair?
It's fair and accurate.
Yeah. Like, think about that, folks. Like, this is the setback that is industry wide. Everyone is going to take chin right here. I mean, just put it out there, because the punch is coming right on your chin and it is unavoidable. It is unavoidable. No one is immune. It's all coming down industry wide. What are you going to do about it? And here's Jill and her team at O&R, who not only did something about it, but now in 2.5 years have reversed that to 100% increase in run rate revenue. It's amazing, right? I mean, it's amazing. It's a tribute to your team, and it's amazing to the data driven, right? To the DDPM that you created. It's but it takes everybody, right? It takes a village. I mean, and everyone's got a role to play in it, and it's significant and it's huge. What would you say if you're talking to people right now, Jill, that are facing that kind of setback, right? And you're thinking like, and just like you and I were thinking, and she's another one. Like, I felt like we just got through the last adaptation, right, from the chin music we took, and here we are lining up for another one, and we knew this one was bigger than the last. Fair. So, what would you tell someone? I mean, with the pandemic and pieces and small business struggling, people are out there hurting a bit. What would you tell them in that situation facing setback today?
First of all, don't look at problems as negative. Don't look at them as if you won't survive, because change is imminent,
Mm.
and one needs to find opportunities in change and grasp them and run with it, run with your life to, to take those changes, make them into opportunities, and the way that you look at the situation, the goals that you set, the vision accordingly, um, that's the expected outcome.
Yeah. Love that.
I think I would also say, given the fact that I have never taken a business course,
Which I love, by the way.
yeah, I know, employed, 1,200, 1,300 folks, I think I'm, it's fair to say, and I'm comfortable saying, anyone can do it.
Mm.
It doesn't, it doesn't take a college education to be a leader.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, and I feel like there's so many opportunities if we would just stop and take them one by one in any business organization.
Mm.
As long as the culture is in place and people ascribe to the culture, Trent, we talk a lot about there's, a big difference in agreement and alignment.
Yes.
I've learned so much from that statement when you first introduced it to me,
Yes.
because people are not going to agree.
Yeah.
Sorry. People
Yes.
are
So,
not going to
yes,
agree.
it's great. So the quote that we use often that Jill's referring to is um, alignment does not equal agreement. And we're moving people in a direction, and Jill's moving at 1,000 miles an hour, as you can imagine, running this significant operation and having a lot of responsibility. Very few people, her close, even her close leadership team is not privy to every detail of everything that's going on, right? Like, you just can't possibly have it. There's too much data, right? Too much information, and it's too fast. So decisions are made, and people aren't going to agree with them. Like, and that's, and at this point of your size organization, it's about 47% don't, right? Like, like, so that's just on the averages. Like, hey, we have a majority that probably think this is the best way to go, and probably people have other opinions. And as an athlete, I certainly recognize that the fans never agreed with everybody's decisions. As everyone yells at the TV, like, you're stupid, coach. Like, everyone doesn't agree with you. But what we do need alignment. I don't need your agreement, but we do need alignment. Our culture, we move in a direction, and our leaders are going to decide that at O&R, and then the rest of the team is expected to move in alignment with that, whether they agree or not. But that takes a culture of trust, because when that happens, their group trusts that the leadership has their best interest, has their patients, has their facility, has sustainability at the heart of why we want to make that decision. So while they may not agree with it, people are happy to get in line. And if they are not, they probably need to find somewhere else to work. Is that fair?
It's fair.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. Right? I mean, and it's tough for people. Listen, this is not for the faint at heart, right? It's hard. And you'd listen, I think it'd be great. I don't know what it looks like, but I think it would be great if everyone of us, if we all agreed. Sometimes, like, man, that was nice. Everybody agreed. Wow. Like, I just don't remember ever saying it.
That's
Right?
why I never ask.
Like, why would I bother? I already know the answer. So you've overcome a lot, Jill. Quick question. What would you consider your biggest victory? What are you most proud of?
Saying my R's. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, saying my R's. That's great.
I I think it's still a journey, but I think in building a culture, through owning a business that supports its folks listens to its folks. I'm so proud of the fact that when I started this company, we were able to employ women that were single home, home providers.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to look back and see how far the company has come. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so we used to provide baby bonuses. Anytime someone had a baby, then
Cool.
we would do a bonus. We don't encourage that
Yeah.
anymore.
Okay.
But just to be able to build a culture that is a friendly culture that supports therapists that are
Yeah.
touching the lives of our aging population, that's a victory in itself. Um,
Mm.
every every day that goes by in terms of my personal and professional journey, then I glean something um, that is positive,
Yeah.
that is a benefit of being able to own and manage this organization.
It's awesome. And I just learned so much today, Jill. Talking about experiential growth, talking about no, both the hardest and easiest word in the world, data driven, right? People management, KPIs, talking about that, how important that is. But in challenging times, that change is imminent, and finding opportunity in change. I mean, you certainly maximized this in the last, you know, for forever to sustain 35 years, of course. But man, what a pivot in these last five. And the culture in place, how important that is. Because we're all in the people business, and we forget that. Like, it's whether it's your customer, whether it's your team member, like, we're in the people business. I don't care what your widget is. You need people to buy it. You need to sell it to people. You need people to market it. You need people, because we need customers too. Um, and you know what I thought about our time this week together? I thought about the quote of Kelly Slater from Apple TV's In the Zone. When the greatest moments in life happen, they don't necessarily happen by chance. It's really an accumulation of all your understanding and knowledge of that thing all coming together in that one moment. In those times, you don't have to think about it. You just do it, you become it. And I just think that just described you to me in a nutshell, right? Like, you've been this strategic plan's always been in place. You've been triangulating. There's just not a lot of things by chance here for me. It's good. It's really good.
Thank you, Trent.
So for everybody, grace under pressure. I'm telling you, like, people are feeling this, and I really get that. How you present yourself internally is fire, and I really get that. But grace under pressure always serves, and it's a great quote by Hemingway. Jill, thank you so much for joining us today on the Winners Find the Way show. I know the show is going to be awesome. Again, tell them where they can find you.
Jill Capella at onr-inc.com.
That's awesome. For everyone else, follow the show on YouTube, live on Leadershipity channel, Instagram, Twitter. You can find me, Trent Clark, in all those places. Look for our upcoming book, The Pyramid of Leadershipity. Email me at trent@leadershipity.com or on any of those channels. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Rate us 5 stars. Share the show. Do all those things. Please continue listening as Winners Find a Way. We work hard to find value delivering stories from the one percenters, just like Jill Capella. So we're so fired up that you're here with us today. Join us every Friday, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for coming, Jill.
Thank you, Trent.